Welcome to Our Lives, Our Science, featuring interviews with students, faculty, and staff in the University of Minnesota's Department of Biochemistry, Molecular Biology, and Biophysics, or BMBB, under the College of Biological Sciences and the Medical School. Sponsored by the BMBB Department's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, Our Lives, Our Science introduces inspiring people and briefly explores their life stories in the context of pursuing science. I am Bob Evans, an assistant professor in BMBB, and today's host for Our Lives, Our Science, and I will be introducing you to Dr. Kenny Karanja, a technology licensing officer with the University of Minnesota's Technology Commercialization Group under the Office of Vice President for Research. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
My pleasure. Well, tell me, Kenny, who are you? And give me one word that best describes you.
I am a father of two young boys, and I am a trained scientist, though not a practicing scientist. I am more working now as a business professional, licensing technologies. And during the course of my academic training and professional career, I can characterize myself as being a diplomat, a skill that is very vital for the work that we do.
Interesting. In your life, what has been the most defining moment of your life?
As you probably noticed from my accent, I am originally from a small African country called Kenya. And the most defining moment was that times many years ago that I decided to leave familiar territory and pursue opportunities here in the United States. At that point, I had to leave people I know, family, friends, in a familiar environment to come to a new land where I didn't know anyone. So I had to make my way in a new country.
That sounds like it would be full of challenges.
Yes.
This might be a silly question, given that you had to come to a decision point to decide you were going to go to the United States. But give me your story. When did you realize that there would be challenges ahead in order to achieve your personal goals, your personal career goals?
Once I landed in the U.S., I came to the state I landed at was Maryland. I was going to school in the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. And upon landing in Baltimore, Maryland, I figured I could take a taxi from Baltimore to Princess Anne, which is a distance of 400 miles. That was my first realization that I was going to face significant challenges than what I was used to growing up.
I take it that didn't work out so well.
No, it did not. Luckily, I had people who advised me that that was not feasible, and so I had someone in Baltimore pick me up, and I lodged with them for a couple of days before heading down to Princess Anne. But that was my defining moments in terms of realizing, wow, I have significant challenges before I get my bachelor's degree.
Yeah, that's fun. That's funny. So other challenges. I'm sure you faced more challenges than just a taxi ride.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges?
Yeah, the taxi ride. So when I subsequently found my way to Princess Anne and I enrolled for my undergraduate, but then I had to figure out how to pay for. First of all, I had invariably culture shock. This was a new country, new people, new environment, and it was in the middle of January. It was very cold. I come from a tropical country, so I had to adjust to the place environmentally. I had to make new friends. I had to find a place to live. I had to find money to pay for my school. But luckily, I was able to navigate all those challenges and achieve my bachelor's degree at the time.
What motivated you to push through? I mean, there's challenges there. I have to imagine there were times when you're really reconsidering. What was your motivation?
Yes. Many a times did I think, I'm not cut out for this. I could go back to Kenya, where I have family and friends who are doing well in terms of challenge-wise. But then again, my family had instilled in me the need to achieve my dreams. Hence, coming 10,000 miles away from home, there was essentially no turning back. I had to achieve what I had set my mind and my heart on achieving. And then I leaned on the friends that I had made during this whole transition and other fellow African students at the time at the university. I, made friends with them and also talked to the faculty members in the department that I was in. And there was a lot of encouragement, and people were willing to go over and above to help me settle in and navigate my way around all the challenges that I was facing at the time.
Excellent. So let's go back in time a little bit further.
Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to pursue a career in the STEMs, science, technology, engineering, math?
Yes, from a young age, I was fascinated first by geography, principally because my family had subscribed to National Geographic. So I was lucky to see all these exotic places and read the science, high level science at the time. And I was really fascinated by how the natural world works. I used to do simple experiments with soil back in grade school, for example, figuring out what composes soil, humus, top layer, and so on. So my fascination with science started at an early age, and I saw it as a vehicle to solve problems. A lot of intractable problems can be solved by science.
Ah, that's excellent. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Now, this next question that I'm going to ask you, it might seem a little silly at first, but I want to get to a little deeper answer than perhaps what the superficial question is. Your path, it obviously differed from what we might see in the U.S. as a typical college student or a typical graduate student. Your path differed, but can you tell me in your words how it differed in ways that we might not see at first? How'd your path differ?
So coming over to the United States from Kenya, I had to adjust to my physical environment. For example, I came in January in the depth of winter, and coming from a tropical country, there's a significant temperature differences that I was not acclimated to, and I did not realize that I had to wear several layers of clothes going to class, and so that was a challenge I had to overcome that most domestic students did not have to, simply because they were raised in this environment. One significant difference also was that I was hungry a good chunk of time, even though there were a lot of vending machines on campus. The food was food I was not familiar with, and it did not go well with me. It took almost a year to acclimate to the foods that were available to me at the time. And a good number of those days I sustained myself on bread and milk. You couldn't tell that when I was attending class, but I was hungry quite a number of times during long lecture periods.
Sure.
That and of course, in addition to that, I had to learn to listen and understand American English. In Kenya, we are taught more using British English. So my ear was more attuned to the British way of pronouncing things. But that one was a challenge that was much more easier to overcome than the hunger challenge.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's something that I certainly did not consider or think about, and it's going to cause me to think a little bit more as I meet friends from other places. So you must have had some resources, people, things, organizations that you relied on. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of resources that you relied
Right.
on?
Most of these times, I interacted with a lot of students, of African students, oftentimes, because of course there was that familiarity, but also with I leaned on the faculty members. The faculty were very, very supportive, very open and accommodating and understanding, because you can imagine if you're a hungry student, you're yawning and halfway asleep in class, they, they reached out to me, not all of them, some of them reached out to me to understand what was going on, and they directed me to resources. Luckily, uh, having a group of people who have gone through that same process was very beneficial.
Wonderful. So, have you achieved all of your educational goals?
I would say yes and no. I think I have achieved my academic goals. I was fortunate enough to be able to graduate from my undergraduate in Maryland and coming to Minnesota for my graduate program and establishing a career in science and now in business. But
If I might interrupt real quick here. So,
sure.
what degree did you do here at the University of Minnesota?
I did my PhD in biochemistry, molecular biology, and biophysics
Right here in BMBB.
right here in BNBB, which was a very awesome experience. Again, the same kind of people that I were very supportive in Maryland were also very supportive here in Minnesota. So I was able to accomplish my academic goals in that regard. However, my educational goals are still ongoing. I consider myself a lifelong learner. And from time to time, I take extra courses on LinkedIn and Harvard online programs. There are quite a number of online programs that once in a while I take to explore and expand my mind. As you remember, I was fascinated by STEM from a very early age. Mm-hmm. That has never gone away. Even as I get older, my kids are always teasing me, "Oh, Dad, you are the scientist." So my educational goals are still there.
Excellent. That's excellent. Okay, I'm going to ask you just one more question, Kenny, and then we'll wrap up. Advice. What advice do you have for students from underrepresented groups that are pursuing a career in the STEMs?
I think the first one is don't be intimidated. From my life experience, I would have been easily intimidated by one of many things, not only academic challenges, but physical challenges, environmental challenges. But I hung in there. I knew what I wanted to achieve. And I call myself, growing up, we had cars with those, they're not available these days, stick shifts. We have a reverse gear.
Sure.
Which was a mechanical apparatus that you had to clutch and shift back. I don't have that shift back gear. I look forward and do what needs to be done to achieve my dreams. Second to that is people. People are your greatest resource. Talk to people. Don't be shy. Talk to people. Let people know what you're going through. Of course, you may want to be talking to trusted people. And that's how you grow your mind. You get opportunities to solve your challenges and achieve your goals. And science is fascinating. I would encourage you to, it's a whole breadth of scientific inquiry that you can get yourself involved in. Pick one, do it, and do it well. As one actor once said, every dream is valid, and so is yours.
Kenny, I want to thank you for sharing a little of your life with us today. Would you be interested perhaps in sharing with us how you have applied your science training to technology commercialization at the University of Minnesota? Could you show us a little bit of it?
Yes, I would be glad to share that with you.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
As mentioned, I am Kenny Karanja, and I practice my science as a technology licensing officer with the Office of the Vice President for Research here at the University of Minnesota. Most of the things we see today began their life as ideas in someone's mind. But through the process of science, these ideas have been actualized into objects that we can see today and that help our daily lives. Science is the process of interrogating the laws of nature, and this process allows us to harness these laws of nature to make products and services that enhance our daily lives. technology commercialization, which is where I practice my science, is an intersection of science, business, and law that allows us to bring ideas into actual practice. Here at the University of Minnesota, we work with researchers in the STEM fields to look at innovations that are coming from their research activities and determine if these ideas have actual applications in the real world. For example, we take ideas from the lab and develop these into addressing clinical needs in both humans and patients and other useful activities in our daily lives. We get a lot of innovations from the labs here at the University of Minnesota, and the university is especially acclaimed for the number of plant varieties that are developed by the School of Agriculture, and an example here are apple and wheat varieties. We also get vaccines that are applicable for animal and as well as human use. From the medical school, we get a lot of life-saving interventions, such as these implantable medical devices. From the mechanical department, we get items such as the flight data recorder that most of you are familiar with, that is placed, it's called the black box in airplanes. We also get cutting-edge technologies in the gene therapy space, such as this shown here, a Sleeping Beauty transposon. And the university is uniquely known for providing one of the first antiretroviral treatments for HIV/AIDS. So the Office of Technology Commercialization gets all these ideas and determines the path to commercialization, that is the path to making products and services. In this capacity, I and my colleagues use our STEM background to analyze these ideas and determine if they have one, intellectual property, which can be protected by law, as well as a pathway to commercialization. Can we make products with these ideas? We then take the ideas that can be protected, and we use the law, in this particular case, to file for patents, copyrights, or trademarks, as the case may be, to protect that intellectual asset. The asset is then taken into a license. This is a business portion where we license these to commercial entities that can develop products and services. There are two key parts to commercialization: the process of taking a basic idea into a product or a service. We do this either by starting a new company. A good number of our faculty have started companies from the university-based research, and then these ideas are developed into products that you can see in the marketplace today. Conversely, we can license the same technology to existing companies, which then leverage their internal research and development processes to also bring a product or a service to market. The University of Minnesota has been very prolific in coming up with startups. These are spin-outs using university technologies. And from 2006, we have spun out about 165 companies. And this slide shows you an example of the companies that are already out there. And these companies use STEM ideas from agriculture, medical science, engineering, computer science to address all manner of needs out in the society. Since 2017, we have actually exited. That means a company has become a public company or been bought by another company. 8 of these startups have exited. So, what skills are necessary to be successful in this field of technology commercialization? First, a broad training in the STEM field. Any STEM application is useful as a technology commercialization professional because you need that scientific background to evaluate technologies and determine if they are intellectual assets and if they can be developed into a product or a service. You need some business savvy to be able to come up with a value proposition, determining whether a particular technology has a good fit in the marketplace. And finally, you need to have some good negotiation skills because you negotiate with your counterparts in the private sector to be able to license these technologies out of the university into industry for production of goods and services. And that is how I practice my science in my professional life. Thank you.